Hey there folks, and welcome to Truck King. This is my 1985 Chevrolet K10, better known as Big Green. And Big Green has been modified this way for one reason and one reason only, and that is to go off-road. And what's the most important part of any off-road vehicle? The tires. So in this video, we're going to focus on my new rubber. That is a set of Kumho Road Venture MT71s, and we're going to go find the mud, rocks, and water and see how they handle. Kumho says that this tire uses what they call a zigzag and dual pitch design. That's just the way these tread blocks are laid out. Now these are non-directional tires, so you can mount them either way. And then you'll see between these big tread blocks, they have these little stone ejector bars to make sure no stones get embedded down there into the tire. Same with mud, that should help to clear out. Another thing I like is the fact that these lugs on the sidewalls come halfway down the sidewall, or just about, to make sure you're getting that biting power out of the side of the tire as well. Now this is just a general observation. I love running these on 15s because then you just get small wheel, big tire, lots of sidewall. That's always better for going off-road. However, I should note that you can get these tires on wheels from 15s straight up to 22-inch wheels. So yeah, it doesn't matter what size you have there, Kumho will supply you with the tire. Now, one other thing I want to mention is the tires I just took off of my truck were a set of Cooper STT Pros. Now, the STT Pros aren't quite a mud terrain like these ones are. They sort of live in the world right between all-terrain and mud terrain. So a little more aggressive than all-terrain, a little less than mud terrain. You can see a shot right here of these two tires side by side. And what you'll notice is the Cooper just has slightly smaller tread blocks, but there's more of them, whereas the Kumho has larger blocks which are spaced out more, and that should equal a better off-road experience because the bigger blocks with more spacing gives you more biting edges and should help me in the mud. I think the question is going to be, how are the on-road manners when I'm comparing these two tires, and how loud are these Kumhos? Well, those are all questions we're going to answer once we hit the road. Just before we head out though, let me tell you a little bit more about my truck. So for those of you who don't know, this is Big Green. This truck began its life on YouTube over on TFL. The guys over there bought it, and they actually got General Motors to donate a crate engine. So that is a ZZ6 GM engine. It's a 350 V8, otherwise known as a 5.7 liter V8, making 400 horsepower at the crank. So if you've never seen this truck before and you're curious, go look it up on TFL. They have a whole series of taking out the old 305 and installing this new power plant in here. Now, I bought it off of TFL and drove it from Denver back up here to Canada, and I have had it ever since. Now, I've only done a couple modifications since I got it. It was sitting on a 4-inch lift when I bought it, but it was a 4-inch block lift, so I reached out to Skyjacker Suspensions, and they sent me a 4-inch long travel suspension kit, so I swapped that out just for a better ride, especially when off-road. The long travel suspension helps. And then, yeah, I've swapped out the tires twice now, so I've got new rubber on here. Otherwise, this thing is just like when I got it, and I absolutely love this truck. 2 modifications, 4-inch lift, 35-inch tires, make it incredible off-road. But you know what? That's enough of me talking about it. Let me go show you. Alrighty folks, time for the rubber to meet the trail. In this case, the ditch crossing. That's going to be our first obstacle today. And it is a muddy, water-filled ditch. So, yeah, let's go ahead and see how these guys do. You know what? I can already feel it. I want the truck down in 4 low. Especially with the manual. I want to be creeping along as slow as possible. So there, now we're down at 4 low. I've got it in low gear. And we're going to just crawl right through this guy. Here we go. Come on, Kumhos. Just like that. Beautiful. So I think, you know, I felt the grip there from the tires right away. The angles obviously helped too. Just the simple fact that meeting this other side of the ditch, it's just all tire. So the tread really has an opportunity to do its thing. So yeah, ditch crossing down, and Big Green and the Kumhos made it look easy. Okay, next up is our set of offset ruts. The whole idea here is to test locking differentials. Here on Big Green, I have no lockers. However, what I do have is A, some frame flex, because yeah, these old trucks will bend a little bit. And then B, just the big tires and all the clearance means I should keep decent contact with the ground. But let's roll through and find out. And if I have to, I can always do a bit of left foot braking to try to mimic a locker. So here we go, creeping into her now. And these holes are also wet and muddy. Oh, there we go. Struggled a little bit, but had just enough contact with the ground. Beautiful. Well, yes, lockers are important, and usually the vehicles we're running through those ditches actually do struggle because you get some wheel lift. But again, here, the clearance is so good. It's also the benefit of having solid axles in the front and the rear. When one of those tires goes up, it forces the other tire down into the ground, which is giving me that traction. So yeah, Big Green was built for this stuff, and yeah, that was no problem at all. Let's go hit the hydro line and try to find the deep mud. So we're beginning up the hydro line now, and there's quite a bit of water here, which means there's quite a bit of mud. This is essentially just a swamp up here. And I think the best test for any mud terrain is you go as slow as possible until you need momentum. Because momentum is your friend, don't get me wrong, but if you don't have momentum, you're really testing the bite on these tires. So far I've just been creeping through, and so far so good. These things have felt very confident, no slip whatsoever. We'll see if anything happens in the deep section, but so far so good. Continuing on here, feeling great. We do have this one big rock here on the passenger side, ka-chunk, but no issues. That's the kind of stuff you worry about because your tire's all caked with mud, and how's it going to climb a dry rock? But once again, so far, Big Green with these tires, feeling unstoppable. Okay, still in 4 low, first gear, into the deep section. Hello. Yeah, even still in here, no slip so far that I've really felt. It's got a bit more speed going. Oh yeah. And then sometimes the exit can be a little tricky. Oh, there's some rocks. No clearance issue whatsoever. Now coming up the rocks on the hill. Come on. Come on. I didn't feel any slip whatsoever. It just grips and goes. Grips and goes. Well, that's hydro line down. Let's go try the left hook. Because at least over there we do have the really muddy hill. And we'll see if that's enough to slow down Big Green and the Kumhos. Okay, folks, now we're headed over to the left hook. See if we can't find something a little more challenging for these tires. Again, so far, so good. I'll take just a quick moment to comment on the way they look. Definitely look aggressive. The fact that those shoulders are just wrapped in so many lugs and they come so far down the sidewall, I think it's a cool looking tire. I will tell you, I was partial to the white lettering I had on my Cooper STT Pros, especially with an old truck. I feel like that's such a classic look. So I wish I had the white lettering, but that's not really Kumho's fault. As MTs go, these ones do look pretty cool. And again, especially on this old truck, they definitely match up real well. And entrance to the left hook was no problem. Now on once again to the deep section. Alright folks, so now what should be the toughest test of the day. Another swampy, muddy section like the Hydroline, but it goes again immediately into a slick hill. And when we bring most trucks up here, they struggle with transition from swamp to hill. So let's see how Big Green and the Kumhos do. So far so good. Clearing these ruts, no problem. There's actually not a ton of water here right now, a lot less than usual. And here comes ruts right up into this hill. Beautiful, beautiful, nice and slow and steady. Over the rocks on the passenger side. Wow! Wow, wow, wow. That was perfect performance. That was honestly perfect. I didn't feel any slippage whatsoever. Like I mentioned, usually on that transition, a lot of tires can really struggle because they're all packed up with mud. These ones, yeah, it was no problem at all. I hit those dry rocks, which can sometimes be slick too with the wet tires. Nothing at all. So the Kumhos are off-road anyways, performing incredible. And now we're off the trail. We're going to close this one out on the road because even mud terrains, quite frankly, usually live most of their lives on road. For me today, driving up here to the Ironwood test facility, as we call it, it was about an hour, a drive up this morning. And yesterday I got the tires put on. Shout out to my brother Matthew. So Matthew helped me get the tires on the truck. So I've had a good amount of time just driving on the highway at high speeds, you know, at 65 miles per hour. And the first thing I'm going to say is this is probably the quietest set of mud terrains that I have experienced, honestly. Now, part of that is the fact that Big Green is a loud truck. You know, I have my no draft windows open pretty much all the time. I usually crack this window. I have a bit of an exhaust leak. And the engine's loud, plus this exhaust is actually just loud by itself. So with all of that other noise input, it's always kind of hard to pick out the tire noise. But when I switched from my Cooper STT Pros to these mud terrains, I was quite sure that the noise would be much more pronounced. And frankly, it just isn't. Now, I've run a bunch of other mud terrains on different vehicles. When I got Big Green, it had a set of Mickey Thompson Baja tires on it. Those things were really, really loud. So yeah, I think that's the other big positive on these Kumhos is that for such an aggressive set of tires, they just don't sing out on the highway like you might expect. They're not silent. You can definitely hear them. But yeah, it is not loud, not annoying, anything like that. So that's another huge plus. When it comes to handling with the Kumhos, as compared to my STT Pros, they feel a little bit heavier, I think is the best way to describe it. My wheel just feels a little bit heavier. I'm not sure how much I can chalk that up to the actual physical weight of the tire versus just the amount of, you know, grip it has on the ground and the amount of rubber that's on the ground. But yeah, that's the one sort of discernible difference. But it's not really a big deal. It doesn't feel like it actually handles any different. It doesn't feel like it goes around corners any different. And those are all good things. So yeah, you know what? For such an aggressive set of mud terrains, I couldn't really ask for more when it comes to the on-road manners. Now, I mentioned I brought them up to my brother to get the tires put on. He also balanced them, and they did take quite a bit of balancing. Again, I'm not sure how much I can blame that on the tire versus my old 15-inch wheels, but they did take many ounces to get them balanced up. But rolling at highway speeds, I don't really detect any shakes or vibrations that weren't there before. Yeah, around 110 kilometers an hour, I get a bit of a shake, but the truck's been like that since day one, and I think you can expect that out of any old vehicle, to be honest. I just consider that my speed limiter. When I feel that shake coming on, I know I'm going fast enough. So on-road manners are also a big positive on the Kumhos. I can't really find anything to complain about, because the other positive here is the price point on these tires. And I can throw it up right here so you can see how it compares to some of the big competitors. But yeah, that's another thing I think Kumho set out to do, was to offer a tire that has performance that's just as good as everything else on the market for a few less bucks. Well, folks, we have arrived at the end of this one. Now, you saw it in the video. These Kumhos performed excellently here on Big Green. You ask for mud terrains, and what you expect is the best traction you're going to get out of any off-road tire, and that's exactly what I felt out there today in that sloppy swamp. So yeah, if you're looking for a new set of MTs for your off-road rig, you probably want to check out these Road Venture MT71s. So that's it for this one. Now, please, I want to hear from you. Drop in the comments. Let me know what you think of these tires. Do you have any experience with them? Please let me know. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.